Alright, well I guess we'll get this started then. Hello everybody, this is hopefully the first of many streams. So, we're going to be working on Annie, Are You OK today. Now, before we get going, I will talk about the CAD program that I'm using. This is a program called 123D Design. It is not something that you can get anymore because Autodesk, the people who made it, don't support it anymore. And yeah, I use it because I'm a visual thinker. Like, a lot of the mess that you see here is me looking at Annie and building everything in parts and kind of mashing them together to see how they fit inside here. Now, I do use Fusion 360 a fair amount, but to get a good idea of how all of the parts go together and kind of mesh in place, I use 123D Design. Everything that I've ever done starts in 123D because it's how it works in my head, right? Like, this black blob in here, this is Annie's weapon motor, and I can pull this out and I can mess around with it, and I can see that it's going to fit inside the middle section of this. Yes, I understand that Fusion is really good, but like I said, Fusion doesn't work with my style of CAD and thinking. So, yes. Also, by the way, you guys are over here for me, so if I'm looking this way, it's because I'm looking at chat. So that's what that is. Also, I'm going to put this motor back where it was. Now, for those of you who saw the video on Annie, you'll know why we're here. We are here because this front plate, which there's two copies of this at the moment, this front plate here warped and bent. So the first thing we're going to do is actually look at doing a replacement for this. Now, I'm going to see if I can pop up a side cam here. One of my technical difficulties was that the camera that I wanted to use for that didn't actually work. So I've got a fairly dodgy old webcam here. So we'll see if we can throw that up on screen. Hang on. Oh yeah, this is a really dodgy old webcam. So here we go. Wow, this webcam, okay. We might not be using this camera too much, but this is what I want to use. It's 19 Mil Aluminium Bar Section, and this is what we were using, this stuff here, which is more of a rectangle. Now, getting this into Annie was a real pain because I did a lot of work to manually shape this into the cross pieces that you see up here. You can see there's some cuts and bits and pieces that had to go into this stuff to make this bar into that shape. So I'm hoping to avoid some of that effort and work this time. Yes, and yes, it must be unbendable, but that's why we're using tube this time, and we're going to use, we're hopefully going to use this tube without cutting into it at all. Because, this tube as is, without any cuts in it, just with holes drilled through, is going to be way stronger than the 2 mil flat that ended up being the edges of this guy here. Now, as you can see, there's lots of different holes put in here. This is kind of from the different iterations of Annie. Over the years, I have a couple of them here, actually. I'll just throw some stuff around and we'll go back to the really terrible camera. There we go. Oh, where is that camera? It's about here. So this here is Annie versions 1 and 2. It has parts that are the same and parts that are not the same. This is an older version. And then next to me in a box of bits, I have Annie version 3 and 4, which is the one that had the issue. Both of them have had issues. Come here, Annie. Yes, unbendable. That is definitely what we're going for. So yeah, that's Annie versions 1 and 2, and then this whole mess is Annie version 3 and 4. And kind of what we're going for today is like a 4.5 almost. I'm going to be keeping a lot of this the same, and then just using the bar stock. Yeah. Yeah, so I've got, a bit of a dynasty of Annie going on here. I don't know, I like the version 1 chassis still. I mean, it was a terrible chassis. It didn't really work. But it's nice to have at hand. So the first thing I need to do is I need to work out what my tube stock actually is. And 19 by 19 by 1.2. Okay, so that's actually pretty thin-walled, but it should do the job. So what we're going to do is I'm going to create a box, and we're going to make this 19 by 19, and then we're going to make it like 30. Let's make it 200. Whoa, that's a bit too high. Make it 200 high. Because from memory, Annie is 200 wide, although she might be a little bit thinner these days. Yeah, okay, so 170 wide these days. I'm just going to have a look at the chat here. Do you have a box of broken robot parts next to your desk too? Yes, pretty much all the time. In fact, the desk cam that we have here. Oh, I was on the desk cam. Okay. The desk cam that we have was, I actually cleared a space on my desk. There's normally a broken box, like a broken bit of parts, just on the desk next to me, which I use for CADing actually. And it is currently 8:45 p.m. in Australia. Yeah, so I've realized that I was on the wrong screen. This here is our fake metal tube, and there's a couple of different ways that I can get this to be the right thickness, which does look to be, about 1.3. It says it's 1.2, so I'm going to go with that. The easiest way is probably just to actually, we can probably just hollow this, or use the shell command. So there's a shell command, and we can just say, I want this to be 1.2 wall thickness, like that. Yes. Oh, Annie is always going to have googly eyes. There's no doubt about the fact that Annie will have googly eyes. In fact, one of the versions of Annie that I CAD'd at one point does have googly eyes in the CAD, because of course it has googly eyes. So I've got our shell now, and our shell is now 1.2 mil thick all the way around the edges, but the problem is it's also got an end cap in it, so we just need to extrude that out, which is quite easy. There's an extrude command up here, extrude, bam, done. So now we have tube, just like that. And this is part of the reason I like 123D design. It's really, really quick to pull up different bits and pieces. Now, the next thing we're going to do is we're going to simply snap this directly to here and then rotate it 90 degrees. And that means that this piece of tube is now perfectly centered on Annie, and we can actually now work with this and get this to fit where it needs to fit. So yeah, you can see in here where there are different holes. One of these holes is for the old version of Annie, and then 2 of these holes are for the current version of Annie. And before we're done here, there's going to be even more holes, because this 19 mil thick tube is not going to reach out to this hole at the back here. So we're going to need to cut new holes in Annie's base plate to make this work. So the next trick is going to be getting this to actually line up properly and sit at the same height as the old one. Because from memory, these are actually different heights. The new tube is taller. So the new tube is 19, and the old tube was 15. Yeah, so this is not going to be the same height at the moment, but we can fix that. And the easiest way to fix that is to move this up somewhere up here, grab hold of both of these, and then align them so that they sit at the same height, which is going to be, yes, that toolbar. Bam. All right, so now the bottom of those two parts is exactly the same height. And in actual fact, we should probably clean a little bit of the stuff out of here because this is getting a little bit complicated to see through. So for the moment, I've lost a toolbar. There's normally a toolbar down the side here that lets me hide and unhide things. Well, for the moment, what we might do is we might take a copy of everything and just move the main important parts all the way over so that they're out of the way of everything else. We'll set this at 500 out so it's an easy measurement to get back to. So we can kind of ignore everything over here for now, and we just need to look at this bit. Yes, so I'm live at 4:30. Oh, nice. Okay. Actually, so this time slot seems to work for some people, which is good. Witnessing the birth of a champion. I don't know about that. We'll find out. It's a case of whether or not this new setup is going to be strong enough to hold the weapon in place. So actually, there should be a weapon axle around here somewhere. Or maybe there's not. Maybe I'll need to cut a new one of those. Yeah, it doesn't look like there's a weapon axle buried in here anywhere. Unless I've got it hidden this way. Nope. Okay. Oh, there's a weapon axle right there. That's what we need. The next thing we just need to work out is how far away to move this. So this goes 260. Cool. All right, so that's the weapon axle. So the weapon axle is important because we need to know where that is going to sit in this new piece. And if we then move this back 19 mil, you can see that's where that's going to need to sit to be faced up with the rest of all of these parts. Just having a look at chat. Yeah. No, it's not midnight in Australia. It's the latest as it is anywhere in Australia is 10? No, 9:30, something like that. Yeah. I'm also really hoping that Battlebots Season 3 happens. Battlebots was just an amazing time. I'm really, really keen for Battlebots Season 3 to happen. And hopefully they decide that Annie wants to go there. Yeah, so is it possible to make a carbon fiber disc for Annie? Ugh, I don't like the idea of carbon fiber in weapons. Just, yeah. Weapons always take massive, massive impacts. And I know carbon fiber is kind of good at that, but I feel like if you hit carbon fiber wrong, it's going to explode, and that's not going to be a good idea. All right, so back into the CAD stuff. So we're seeing at the moment that from the looks of things, we've got one of our holes lines up into our 19mm tube. The other one doesn't, which is what I was expecting coming into this. And then we need to cut down the tube as well, because at the moment it's way too long. And also we should just right now cut the weapon axle into it. So we'll cut that weapon axle out, and that gives us the weapon axle hole like that. Actually, I'm going to put this into the middle of the robot there. Now, one of the tricks I did in Annie this time round, and actually it's got to be around here somewhere. It's got to be somewhere in this CAD. I actually put a 3D print inside this tube section so that I could bolt into it, and also so that I didn't crush the tube down when I compressed the weapon stack into it. So we're going to be doing that again, and I'm just making sure that we've got enough, there's going to be enough space inside here to do that. I'm pretty sure there is, to be honest. Yeah. So next thing I think is actually we're going to move this guy out of the way because we don't really need this anymore. That was literally just a guide, and it's weak and old. And yes, I'm very, very keen for Battlebots Season 3, specifically to get revenge on Daedalus and Clause 2. I've already cooked up a weird idea for how I'm going to get revenge on Clause 2. To do it though, I'm going to need a mini bot in the arena, and that's all I'm going to say about that. Because it's a kind of crazy off the wall notion, which I'm just like crossing my fingers and I'm hoping it's going to work. But it's something that, like I said, if Battlebots Season 3 gets announced, I will work on the mini bot on the channel probably, and then I'll attempt it in a fight before I actually go to Battlebots, because you've always got to test these things. There's no point just building a mini bot and taking it with me and then trying it there. Like I want to know that it's going to make some difference. So yeah. And yes, anybody who has a beetle out there, do try and enter Battlebots, because the more of us that enter, the stronger the field that they can select, and the better that's going to be for all of us. Even if somebody out there takes my spot, takes Annie's spot at Battlebots Season 3, that will happen because they're a stronger competitor, and that's going to be great. That's going to be great for Battlebots. So do it. Go ahead. Oh, I'm glad that Annie's somebody's favorite. That's really cool. Yeah, I did get a little bit unlucky at Battlebots, but I mean, part of the unluckiness was my fault, right? Like, Annie didn't work as well as she could have worked. Her weapon went out a couple of times, and to be honest, Annie's weapon problems are something that I've been dealing with this whole time. So it's something that I knew about and I need to work on anyway. And that's kind of what we're doing today, right? Like we're doing an upgrade that will hopefully make the weapon stack up better. So all right, so the next thing I'm doing here, so I've got my 19mm tube in, I've got the hole cut for the weapon axle. I'm now going to cut this down to length using some splits. So we'll just face this up and split it, and then we can delete that bit out, and that leaves that perfectly flush. In the real world, I'm probably not going to cut this to exactly whatever this comes out to be. That's not what I wanted to do. Give me that, and split that there. Boom, boom, boom. So if we actually have a look at the new length of this piece, we're at 163.6. So I'll probably cut it at 163 just to give me a little bit of wiggle room, around the outside. Oh, downforces the mini bot. That's an interesting idea. I do like that. It might not be exactly downforce, but I do have the little fan out of those wall climbing cars still. So I could build an even smaller downforce if I really wanted to, which could be quite interesting. Okay, so we've now got the new tube in here, which honestly, that's looking chunky and substantial. I mean, look at it compared to the old guy. The old guy looks kind of weak in comparison. Like, look at that. I mean, because the new tube is a thinner wall tube, I'm hoping that I'm going to get a bit of a weight reduction out of this, because I didn't have a lot of weight left in Annie that I could play around with. Actually, I'm not going to do it that way. I'm going to do it that way. Go away. There we go. Okay. So that's that new tube. Now, the next thing is going to be putting holes in here. So we've got M5 bolts going through the bottom. Yes, M5 bolts going through the bottom. So I need to work out how to get another M5 bolt in here without kind of destroying this tube, and make that work so that, yeah, these things aren't too close together and all of that kind of fun stuff. So I think the first thing I'm going to do actually is I'm going to put the M5 holes into the tube. There's an easy way to do that, which is the way I'm going to do it. So we need to copy the... Whoa, Okay, that's interesting. That L-shaped piece is not actually an L-shaped piece. That's very weird. Maybe I cut that accidentally before. We'll just copy those, and then we're going to subtract them out of our body. Like this, like this, like this. Actually, we're going to go back up. Nope. By 1 mil. Give me 1 mil. That's 2. All right, we'll do this manually. And then we'll move this guy out by 20. And in under here, we've got some perfect cutaways that give us our bolt positions. So if I 2.5 and copy that. I'm going relatively quickly with this, I guess, because I'm fairly happy and confident in this software. And I'm not really attempting to teach you guys this because, of course, it's an out-of-date software. So there's really no point learning this as it is at the moment. Come on, snap to there. Thank you. So we can actually just wanted those in place for the moment. So we can do this. And then we're going to extrude that hole and up. All right, where are we at with the chat? So I saw a little bit of the Robo Nerd stuff. I'm a little bit behind though. I need to catch myself back up. Don't Need Roads is still in a box in my workshop. It's there, it's in pieces. I just need to like take the motor out and replace the motor, and I should actually have Don't Need Roads up and running. So I might even look at it for the next event and get that going. So I might run Sawbot, Don't Need Roads, and Annie, and maybe the Melty. It depends on if I get parts in time. There's a new sensor that I'm waiting on to get the Melty going. So we'll see how that goes. Yep. Any specific reason I use this CAD software as opposed to other options? Yes. I use this CAD software in particular because it's a very visual drag and drop based setup, which is how I think. When I CAD in Fusion, I have to get an image of what I'm trying to do in my head first, because at least the way I've been taught to use Fusion, everything's based on like create a sketch and then do all your 2D stuff and then extrude all your 2D features out and then, you know, do another sketch and extrude that way and that type of thing. My problem is that I have a hard time taking 2D space and converting it into 3D space in my head. It needs to be 3D space in my head. So I need to like do 3D space in my head, convert the 3D space into 2D space, push that into Fusion, and then do all the modifications. Whereas this stuff, everything is done in 3D space. Like I very, very rarely use a sketch in here. Software is available to do that, but it's not the way this software is set up and designed to be used. So this just gels more with my flow as a CAD user than anything else. That's about it, really. I would love to be able to use Fusion a lot better than I use Fusion. I just can't. All right, so we're gonna throw this guy back in. So now we've got these holes in and we've got these two pegs here, which are aligned to those holes. So the next trick I wanna do is to flick this up this way and see what I can do about working out where the next set of holes is going. Because I don't want to be too close to this, but I also don't want to be too close to this. So my real options are around about here somewhere, which is interesting. Yeah. Annie, are you okay? And the mini bot can be called Smooth Criminal. It might be called Smooth Criminal. I do like that idea. I really do. That's why I use SketchUp for all my bots, because they're much easier to visualize in 3D than in 2D. Yeah, I get that. My only problem with Fusion, with SketchUp, is I used SketchUp early, like really early when Google first put it out, and the exporting out to STLs to be able to like 3D print them and stuff, that was really wobbly and broken for a long time with SketchUp. I'm not sure if it's better now. I haven't used SketchUp in a very long time. If it is, cool. Yeah, it'd be a good software to use. But like I said, I got burnt early, so I stopped using it basically. That strange young man in the mirror. I do like that. Strange Young Man needs to have an update at some point as well. We might even do that on stream too if you guys want more streams in the future. Strange Young Man actually though is in Fusion because Strange Young Man started as a collaboration project between me and a friend that I went to university with. Unfortunately, he doesn't have enough or a lot of time to work on Strange Young Man with me anymore, but because it started as a collaboration project, it started in Fusion and things, so he just lives there. But yeah, I need to update the base plate for Strange Young Man because the last time we used or looked at Strange Young Man, the base plate was bending on trying to lift people, so all that's probably going to get updated to steel or hard ox or something in the near future. Smooth Criminal is a good name for a downforce wedge. I agree. I like that. I like that a lot. We could possibly do something like that. So what I need to know here is how far away from the wall I am. So if I do that and then that. Okay, so we're 3 mil away from that wall. That's not too bad. That should be okay. But I don't really know exactly where this next peg is going to go. But we can have a look. If we push it out 9 mil, is that going to touch the wall on the inside? Well, one way to find out. Let's copy it and extrude it and have a look at where the hole lines up. Because if the hole is too close to the wall, that's not going to help us. Ooh, yeah, that's touching. That's going to be an interesting one to mill, or drill a hole in. So let's not do that. Let's get rid of that. I used to use foam core and then bend aluminium around it. Ah, okay. Yeah, that could, yeah. Using foam core and then bending alley around foam core would be a very tedious process, I would assume. Yeah, I'm glad I live in time where 3D printing is open, easy, and accessible. So we're going to throw this guy back in by a mil, but I might also out by a couple, like 5 mil. Is that going to make any sense? How far away are these two from each other? Distance is 4 mil. Oh, is that going to be enough? That is a good question. I'm going to throw back over to the desk, although this camera is absolutely shocking. But what I'm trying to work out right now is how thick the nuts are for an M5 bolt, because that would determine 8.75, so 9 mil. So we need 4.5 distance between those two. Right. Okay. So that's not going to cut it. We need more distance between these two. So we're actually going to need to move over probably another... Well, if we move over 1, I think that lines us up with this hole. It's just in a little bit. So what's our distance now? 5 mil. Beautiful. Oh, I'm on the wrong thing. There we go. Now we're back. You guys actually can't see my measurement tool, which is interesting, because there should be a measurement tool just above my face at the moment. But it's not there. Anyway, we've got 5 mil separation between our two 5 mil bolts down here, which is good. That's what we need to actually have that work. It is going to be a bit dicey because that means that we're cutting a hole kind of close to this other hole. I guess actually it's not too bad. How far away are we? 3 mil. Yeah, all right. That'll work. Now I could go through obviously and manually move out this last one, but what I'm going to do instead is I'm going to mirror it over there. So just going to put a box in place. I know these boxes are 20 mil, so I move it 10 mil like that, and then we just mirror this guy. Where is my mirror tool? There it is. Mirror solid, mirror plane, bam, done. And that's our new bolt holes. Yes, yeah. Well, I mean, that's actually, that guy over there is not actually Bolt's weapon. It is a MDF mock-up. And I've kind of mentioned this to some people at some point. Anyway, I think part of having that MDF mock-up was actually like shooting myself in the foot or shooting the team in the foot a little bit, because in our application video, I swung that thing around and I didn't really do a good job of saying that it was an MDF mock-up. So I have a feeling that, yeah, some of the feedback we got, they thought that that was actually the real weapon. And yeah, they thought it was going to be weak, which, yeah, that thickness of steel in a heavyweight robot wouldn't be enough for a weapon. So I can absolutely see why they would have thought that. But yeah, that was my bad. I really, yeah, next time I do a mock-up weapon, I'll do a mock-up weapon in the correct thickness and make it actually, you know, seem like it's heavier than it is. I'll rely on some very mediocre acting skills I've picked up along the way. So moving back on with Annie, I'm going to grab hold of these guys and we're going to extrude down through here, which will put holes in everything for us, and then this will give us what our final bar is going to look like. So our bar is going to look a little bit like this. We're going to have, yeah, two interesting holes here and here, and then our center hole for our weapon shaft. The next thing, of course, I want to do is I want to put a 3D printed block in here again, because that actually worked out quite well last time, and I think I can do it again this time. Yes, yeah, I do really like the lightning bolt blade. I actually have some ant weight lightning bolt blades, which I'm probably going to put onto something at some point in the near future. And also, hello. Yeah, thanks to everybody who's joined in so far. Yeah, that's 18 people. That's awesome. Annie will be okay. We're getting there. We're getting there slowly. This new reinforcement piece is going to be a lot stronger. Even if I have to cut a little bit out of the back or a little bit out of the top, I'm going to try and keep all of the corners of this tube together, which is going to make this way stronger than Annie's last one that she had. So that'll be quite good. Now, the next thing I want is, yeah, I want to put something inside here, but I also need to get this guy, which is our weapon setup, or our brushless motor setup, and we need to take that over to our new location as well, because this is going to be quite important for the next part of the job. 500 there. So you can see that because this guy was a lot thicker, the actual weapon shroud here doesn't reach anymore. So the next thing we need to do is we need to make this all reach. We need to buff this out. And actually, I need to find... There it is. That's my weapon shaft. There. So I need to make sure I've got a hold of that, because we're about to cut weapon shaft holes in this guy, which is going to be quite important. The other thing too you'll see is that down here, this weapon shroud is cut off where it touched the old aluminium down here, and obviously that doesn't need to be like that anymore. So we'll see if 123D can deal with this. Look at that, it can. That's nice. But we might need to change that up later anyway, because one of the things I want to try and do is have space in this weapon shroud for a bearing. Yeah, and we'll Yeah, hold the motor in place, the weapon motor in place by having a bearing there, which would be really cool. Yes, I do have a video planned to talk about two of the most important things of weapon design, which is moment of inertia and weapon bite. In actual fact, that's probably going to be this week's video. It depends. I haven't quite filmed it yet, so we'll see how it comes out. It might be the week after. It might be this week. But there's actually Annie's weapons on my table behind me, which are in the setup for me doing that video. Yes, so we've got a shroud, or the shroud for the weapon. And what we're going to do, we were going to get this shroud set up so that we can actually use it properly. No. Koei systems? No, that's not right. The more mass on the outside of the weapon, the more inertia you have, the more rotational inertia, which means the more energy you're storing. But when you push that to the absolute extreme, you have zero bite. Like I said, I've got a whole video planned on this, and I will go through all of that and kind of hopefully dispel a few common misconceptions. But what you need to know for now is that bite and moment of inertia are the two absolutely critical things in designing a weapon, and they fight each other. The more inertia you have in your weapon, the less bite you have, and the more bite you have, the less inertia you have. So it's all about finding a good balance, and designing weapons are going to work for different opponents. So it's going to be, I'm not going to say that I know absolutely everything on these two topics. I definitely don't. There will be links to extra materials and stuff once, in that video's description. But this is just kind of the baseline stuff that I've picked up over the last couple of years, designing and building weapons and all of that kind of stuff. Have I considered triangular shaped pieces for motor and weapon mount? Not really. Because the weapon mount itself needs to have enough space in it. So if I come over here, no, these guys and one underneath. These here, which I'm about to drag over, these are the bolt holes. Oops, that's, I think. No, come back. Those are the bolt holes for the weapon. So to mount this weapon to this, the most straightforward way is just a straight rectangle, because you bolt either side of the weapon mount and then you bolt straight into the motor mounting points. That's basically it. On the top, you could do a standard pair of mounting holes. But on the bottom, you could make a two-piece motor pulley and one that's fixed to the bottom mount with the bearings. And it's fixed to the bottom mount and has a bearing. Yeah, I mean, this system is actually, it doesn't look it because this is a bit of a complicated mess. And yeah, part of the way I do designs ends up with complicated mess. But this is actually a fairly easy system, because at the moment, you've got these plates that are over here. These guys bolt into the motor and then bolt into the aluminium frame sections of Annie. So this is it's two bolts, and you can remove the motor assembly and everything, because the motor has a pulley on the underside in under here, although that pulley is that pulley even catted? I'm not sure if it is. Oh no, there it is. Yeah, it's over here. It's a little green guy. What have I done? I don't need to, we can leave that stuff over there for the moment. Anyway, what I was doing was getting the new system done. So what I need to work out is how much clearance I need here, which doesn't look like there's much difference. 4 mil. Cool. So we're going to buff that back. 4 mil. Cool. So that's now at the right height. And we're going to need to push this forwards more. So this is going to go all the way out to probably there. And then we can take our weapon and extrude a hole through that. So that gives us our weapon shaft through. The red circle underneath Annie. Oh, that's the mock-up of her blade. This big red circle is literally just the danger zone of Annie's weapon. So anything that comes into contact with that is going to be mutilated by the weapon. So you can see I use it to do stuff like determine that this wheel isn't going to come into contact with the weapon, because originally the whole chassis was longer this way, which meant that the wheel was further away from the weapon. So I had to make sure I wasn't going to touch that. And in fact, it's really, really quite close. Yeah, 1 mil of difference between Annie's weapon and the wheel. Which type of weapon do I like? All of them. That's a bit of a cop-out, I know. In terms of spinners, I see the reason for discs, bars, and single-tooth bars, and also single-tooth discs. Although single-tooth discs are a little bit of an anomaly for me. I'm not as fond of those. But the other three, there's definitely use cases for all of them, especially beetles and upwards. I think if you're fighting in ant weight classes, you're basically best to use a single tooth bar, just because with the small scale brushless motors that we get these days, they just go so fast that you really need the single tooth to get you some bite. Of all the videos I've done over the years, which one did I enjoy making the most? Oh, that's an interesting question. Three spring instantly to mind. They would have to be the William Osman cat Battlebot video that I made. That was memorable because I actually had a cameraman for that, which was really interesting. I roped a friend into giving me a hand for a weekend, which was fun. The mini bot at Battlebots was... I'm gonna say that's memorable. I don't think that was fun necessarily. Trying to work on an ant weight sized toy car with Battlebot scale tools was a bit of a nightmare. But it was fun driving that thing around and driving it against Bombshell. So there's that. And then Sharky. Building Sharky was a lot of fun as well, because it was my first time trying that kind of like, don't put everything in CAD, just do it freehand and free-flowing. And then the end result, Sharky, is just hilarious. And I love Sharky. I need to charge Sharky's batteries and get Sharky into another fight, because it's so good. In the UK, every other featherweight has a single tooth disc. Yeah, so featherweights are a different featherweights are a different thing. I can kind of see that, and I can actually Drizzle's single tooth disc is a good one because the disc itself is a self-writing mechanism. Like, that's the reason it's a disc rather than a single tooth bar, is because he's using that to get the self-writing going. So that's not a bad idea. It is a beast of a robot, and that is a good use of a single tooth disc. But yeah, I think once I get into the full scale stuff of inertia and bite and all of that kind of things, single tooth discs are kind of a bit at odds with the principles there. So they're useful in some use cases and not in others. And I'm realizing I'm just like talking to you guys and ranting and not doing CAD, which is what I'm supposed to be doing. Let's do some more CAD, shall we? So the current iteration of this uses M4 bolts from memory. Yeah, to do what I need to do to hold the top plate down. And I think I want to keep that up. I just need different M4 bolts, and I will probably just make these brand new, I reckon, because if we snap that into there, that's just off center with the, that's kind of annoying. I think then, because this is the M4 bolts for holding the weapon mount in place, like the panel that will go across the top here and hold the weapon motor in place. And if I center them on the bar, they'll be okay, but mean I'll have to do a second set of markings. So I could actually center them on the weapon axle instead. If I center them on the weapon axle like that, then the mark that I make horizontally on this for doing the weapon axle, I can then copy across to do the M4 bolt as well, which would be nicer, I think. Where is chat at? Single tooth discs. There are lots of other weapons. Yes, okay. I should mention, of course, there are lots of other weapons. I do personally like spinners a lot, but I guess I'm going off them a little bit. Like, the saw isn't really a spinner, it's more of a control bot. And I do like control bots from time to time, like Strange Young Man. Strange Young Man is an awesome control bot, or will be when I finally get the weapon working. Yeah, I don't know. I like the ability to straight knock someone out, though. So lifters and flippers and things, they just don't have that unless you've got a pit or an out of the arena zone. Like, if Robot Wars came back, which I don't think it's going to, but if it ever did, I would love to take a flipper or a lifter to Robot Wars, because the out of the arena zone is a KO, right? Like, that gives you that big, my weapon has successfully done the thing moment. Yeah. I don't know. That's where I'm at the moment. In Battlebots, who did I put down as the robot I didn't want to go up against? I don't think I did, to be honest. Because I didn't know about Daedalus going in, being an Aussie and not really watching the UK scene all that closely. I didn't know about Daedalus going in. I knew about Drizzle. I knew about, a lot of the people who'd been in Battlebots Season 1 I knew about. So I'm pretty sure I didn't put anybody down, because there's not a fight that I didn't want to have. And I mean, even to this point, like, I want a 1v1 Daedalus right now. Like, if Battlebots Season 3 was happening right now, I would put that down as I want to fight Daedalus. I like big fights. I like those type of fights where who knows what's going to happen, because the first hit, everything goes to chaos. Like, that's so much fun. And I think Spinner Proof guys mentioned it at one point when I did my fight against the Berg. We made like a handshake agreement that we would give each other a second to spin the weapons up before attacking, just because that's going to have your biggest hit and your biggest interesting moment. So yeah, like I said, I'm not sure I did have somebody I didn't want to go up against at Battlebots. I was pretty happy to fight all comers, basically. Alright, where do we land on this? I think we're going to center these guys to the weapon shaft. I think that just makes the most sense, because it's going to make it easier to build this thing. And realistically, this is a very, very quick build process, because Annie needs to be ready to fight in like 2 weeks, I think, something along those lines. So this is hopefully just going to be like, we pull this bar stock out, cut it down, drill 6 holes in it and bing, bam, boom, everything slaps together. Maybe. Yeah. Jay was really cool at Battlebots too. I was surprised. They did really, really well. And I think that's kind of where a lot of the people who like them, that's why they like them, is because it was a very underdog story, really. When you think about it, there wasn't a lot of people expecting Jay to go very far, and they just did that anyway. Yeah. All right. Next trick for here, I think, is going to be doing the piece inside. The piece I want to 3D print that will sit inside here and give us... what do we got? 16.6. Okay. So we're going to get some frame rigidity out of this by doing 16.6 mil. Whoops, that's 1.6. I want 16.6. And probably 60. 30 will do for now. So I'm going to snap this guy inside here, which will fill that up. Now I'm going to have to give that print tolerances when I go to print it. But the whole idea of this is that we actually cut holes in it, and then it will stop me from crushing the tube when I go to build this thing later. And it also actually gives me a point to mount these two, because I can either put captive nuts in here, or if it's an ABS print, which is probably what it's going to be, I can tap directly into the ABS and it will just work properly. Yeah. Oh, bye. I hope you enjoyed lunch. I hope joining the stream was a good way to spend your lunchtime. A block in there which is tapped. In actual fact, if I go back to desk cam, I really need to upgrade this system. You might just be able to see there's a flash of green in here, in underneath the red there. That is actually the ABS print which holds down the top plate at the moment. It's the same piece that I'm actually designing right now. Just the version for the old system. So back to the camera, or back to the screen. Okay. Yeah, so now I think we can start doing some cuts in this, which will give us some holes through that middle section. Yep, nice. And then we'll do the cuts here as well. Oh, actually, we need our mirror point back so that we can mirror off this bolt hole. Mirror, mirror, mirror. There it is. That guy, bam. Cool. So now we've got our mounting points for this, which, yeah, all of this is a little bit wider. So we're going to have to redo the, redo those mounting plates. So, but we can just extrude. Actually, we want to hold on to these as well, because we'll need to do the top plate in a second. 40 mil, done. Okay. Now we extrude these guys down, and that gives us somewhere to mount our weapon shroud to, or this guy off to. Although I have a feeling by the time I get to doing, I'm gonna have to expand that shroud out just a little bit to actually fit the bearing I want to fit inside of it in there. So we're gonna have to cut all of this shroud off and redo it, I think. Unless 123D lets me expand this. Oh, would you look at that? We're actually going to be allowed to just expand this out. Cool. 2 mil. Let's give this 2 mil. That might do the job. We'll have to have a look at that once I get the bearing in place. But there we go. So that's weapon shroud, front section. Oh, whoops. That's not good. The middle piece in here, when we did our extrude, we actually cut that off. It wasn't large enough, apparently. Yeah. Alright, let's see if we can fix that real quick. Not sure 123D is going to be too happy with me doing it this way. Oh, it is. Okay, look at that. There we go. That should give it plenty of plastic either side of those bolt holes so that we can actually tap into it and, yeah, work that out. Will I put a mask on the rebuild, Annie? She won't have a mask, but she will definitely she'll definitely have big old googly eyes again, because I like googly eyes on Annie. She'll also have the little mouth sticker too. She can't ever go into a fight without her face. That's the rules. Would I want to fight Death Roll? Yes, absolutely. Yeah, of course I want to fight Death Roll. Death Roll is an awesome machine. That's going to be a good fun fight. Why would I not want to fight Death Roll? And let's be honest, if I go to Battlebots with my own machine, if I'm the captain of a team at Battlebots, there's a good likelihood that A, I'm going to face Death Roll because it's a clash of the Australians, and then B, that I'm going to fight Gemini because it's the team captain versus their previous team thing, right? Like, because I was with Gemini already, they're going to try and do that clash, and they'll, play it up for the camera and produce some drama around it or whatever. But there's a good chance I'm going to fight both of those. And in actual fact, I don't know. I think if I went to Battlebots with my own robot, there's a good chance I'll get put into a rumble with Gemini, because they like putting Gemini in rumbles. So it could be Gemini, my robot, and something else in the arena. Which, if I'm taking a Melty Brain to Battlebots, that's going to be awesome, because there's going to be so many targets in the arena, and it will be perfect for a Melty Brain. And yes, I could possibly also fight Endgame, because once again, it's that like battle of Australia and New Zealand thing that they'd like to play up for the camera. Is Gemini returning? As far as I know, they are a US team, so it's going to be easier for them to fight this year than it would have been last year. They did talk to me at the start of the year about whether or not I wanted to go over, and at the time I was very heavily working on Bolt, so I was kind of putting all my eggs into the Bolt basket and just said, look, I can't fight with you guys this year. So yeah, outside of that, I haven't heard anything from the Gemini team. I would assume they're going to be there, but I can't officially announce that or anything because I really don't know. Okay, so where was I at? I was at finishing off that. Okay, so now that we've done that, what we're going to need to do is take these guys over here, one of these, which is our motor mount, and we're going to swing it all the way across. And we're going to have to upgrade and change and improve our motor mount, because at the moment, this motor mount is not going to do the job. Also, something's telling me, yeah, we need to put some space here. So how thick is that? That's 8 mil. So only 4 mil is allowed to be above the top of this hole. That's going to make my life interesting. How thick is this at the moment? It is, 9.8. Okay, so we need to make some space here. Oh, that's going to mean the shape of this is going to have to be interesting as well. All right, well, this is something that we deal with. So first of all, I'm going to change this guy up, get rid of those bolt holes because they don't need to be there right now. We're going to, actually, what distance is this? Doop and doop, that's 1.5. Yes, Jaeger looks like a really cool robot. I'm quite keen to see how they go. I mean, who knows if they're going to fight this year? As far as I remember, they're a UK team. So UK teams getting to America in 2020. Yeah, I don't know, man. COVID has messed up a lot of that type of stuff. Yeah. And then Y123 over Fusion. I have mentioned this already, but I will just quickly refresh it. I'm a visual thinker. I like things in 3D. If they're not in 3D in my CAD program originally, then I have to 3D them in my head before I put them in. And because Fusion is do things in 2D and then extrude to 3D, it takes more effort for me to design into Fusion. I do use Fusion from time to time, but I use 123D to rough out all of my designs really quickly. What kind of bot do you think the next iteration of Bolt is going to be? I don't know. Because I don't know if there is going to be a next iteration of Bolt. The Melty is taking up all of my time right now. The Melty is a lot of my focus, especially in terms of heavyweights. Like getting the Melty working and up through and then into a heavyweight is the idea. I'm not sure if I'm going to keep the name Bolt and put it into the Melty, or if I'll change that as I get up there. That'll come when we build the Melty. I mean, I've got to get a Melty working first. But I've got other ideas. I don't know I'm going to do an angled overhead spinner now because just looking at some of the people that were accepted for the 2020 season, it looks like there's a couple of good angled overhead spinners in the field. So the reason I did Bolt was because there hadn't been one in Battlebots for a while, so I thought I could get some uniqueness points by doing it. And of course, I'd done it in a featherweight, so it was a fun, upscaling process. There's some other designs that I think could really use some love at Battlebots. So if I'm not doing the Melty for Battlebots and I move Bolt over, it will be a spinner, but it won't be an angled overhead spinner. It'll be a different spinner. But that's stuff that I can. We'll work on that later. Basically, the Melty brain is the focus for the moment. And yeah, any heavyweight I design and build isn't going to be out of the blue for you guys. Like, you will, if you watch my videos, there's going to be a beta weight or there's going to be a featherweight of whatever heavyweight I end up building. Because I'll always test the design in those smaller classes and then push it through into a full-on heavyweight. I'm never going to do a design straight into a heavyweight. It's just not going to happen. Feathers or beetles first, always. Hang on, does Battlebots allow Melty brains? No! Kind of, sort of, no. So, yes and no. Basically, Battlebots doesn't outright ban Melty brains, but the idea of a Melty brain is to not have an active weapon, and Battlebots bans things that don't have an active weapon. But that's why we have, I'm not sure if you guys can see it on camera, but my version of a Melty brain has 2 active weapons on the extremities of it. So the whole Melty brain spins up, but there's also 2 active weapons, which is A, part of just a uniqueness idea, and B, part of getting around Battlebots requiring an active weapon rule. So there's a lot of process that I need to get through to get that thing A, working, and then B, past Battlebots' selection committee, but that's my idea right now. Yeah. Anyway, so moving back on with this, we're working on the mount plate for the weapon motor here, which is what this guy is. So I need to work out how much further out this needs to be. 1.5 mil. So I'm going to push this out. 1.5 mil. 1.5 like that. And we're going to then push this all the way across. Whoa, that's not what I wanted to do. Don't do that. There we go. That's much better. How far do we need to go? 2 more mil. Okay. So this gives me the new plate for this. But as I mentioned before, we actually need to cut out some of this. So if I grab hold of this, push this down here somewhere, and then make this a lot bigger. Actually, I need to make sure my bolts are out of the way of this process. Yep, okay. So those are there. Basically what I'm going to do is I'm just going to like pull this shape out until it's a bit bigger, and then we're going to cut until we've got 4 mil off the base here. So I need to work out how far away we are. Boom. And we're 13 mil away. So I want to go down by 9 mil. Like that. And now we need to cut this out of all of these. So we're just going to duplicate that and then do some cutting. You can take that away. And you can take that away. Boom. So there we go. That's now got our bolt hole where it needs to be, and that's going to be okay. Probably could cut that a different shape, but for now that will work and do the things. Hexbug's Heroes. Don't they have a weight limit on how much weight can be spinning? Yes, so technically. But the rule with that is actually defined inside the weapon rules section. So if you read the Battlebots rules, they have lots of sub-clauses on things. And the sub-clause for spinning weapons starts with the definition of a spinning weapon, which is a weapon that is activated by a power that is not the drivetrain of the robot. Under that rule set, they don't count the spinning of the Melty Brain as itself a weapon, which means that they don't count the mass of the Melty Brain as a weapon. So all they're going to care about is those two spinners on either end. It's basically like Rotator. Rotator could tomorrow put Melty Brain code inside Rotator and still be a valid heavyweight combat robot for Battlebots. We're doing the same thing, we're just going to be more explicitly Melty Brain than Rotator is. That's basically it. You're inspired by the Melty Twin Spinner and made one in Gmod. It hits in arenas. It hits in areas you don't expect it to get. Oh, that's interesting. That's what I'm hoping. I'm hoping that with the Melty Brain spinning two spinners and itself all at the same time, it's going to just be unpredictable and it's going to catch edges of armor that nobody else will catch, that type of thing. So hopefully reality is like Gmod, because that would be awesome. So moving on through, we're going to cut some holes in our new top plate, because this will allow us what do I need to do? I need to copy these so I don't lose them, because you never ever want to lose a reference point when you're working very visually like this. But then we're going to subtract that, and boom, cool. So this is our new weapon mounting plate, which will probably have to be made out of carbon fiber or something. So this whole shape is probably going to get changed to just kind of angle back. In fact, I can probably just do that angling right now with a bit of the old chamfer. Can we chamfer this easily enough that it makes sense? Actually, let's chamfer all of this all at the same time. Yeah, that'll do. 8mm chamfer back. That'll work out alright, and it will look okay. Yeah, that should be the new stack up. Hopefully, like I said, this new bar is going to be lighter than the old system, this old system over here, because if it is, we'll be fine. If it's not, then I'm going to have to find weight somewhere, which is always interesting. It's very hard to find weight in these things a lot of the time. Okay, so the next trick for me is actually to find the bearing that I want to use so that we can CAD the bearing in as well, and then hopefully everything will work out. We might need to adjust our shield here a little bit because that might not work with the bearing I want to put through. So let's see if this works. Is that on stream? Yes, that is on stream. So this is the bearing I want to use, which these are the important information pieces that we need. So it's a 35mm inside diameter, which is fine. That's the size of the motor. It's a 42mm outer diameter, and it's a 16mm width. Cool. So we can make that fairly quickly in here. The only thing is making sure I've got my maths on some things right. Cool, so that's going to be 17.5. That's the inner hole. And then the next one, what'd I say? 42, so that's 21. And the height needs to be 16. Boom, there we go. All right, so this is our bearing. There it is. Just like that. And now I should be able to go like this and go like that. And that should actually now be in semi-place. All I need to do is move this down until it lines up with the bottom of this, which I think that just about does, but we might just move it up by 1 more mil. Oops, come here, bearing. You can see that's a snug fit around the motor, which is good. It's not 1 mil, it might be 0.5. Yep, cool. Where's my stream gone? How did I actually originally come up with Annie? Robert Cohen. I'm not going to beat around the bush here. Robert Cohen. I watched his videos. I enjoyed watching his crippling depression videos, and I decided I wanted an undercutter. So I went out and I built an undercutter. I mean, the first version of Annie was bad, like really, really, really bad. The weapon was mounted through 3mm of Lexan, and that was all that was holding the weapon in place. It was an 8mm bolt through 3mm Lexan, and it first burnt the Lexan, then it broke through the Lexan, and it was a bad time all around. Yeah, but that's how I got interested in it. And a lot of the time, the designs that I do are inspired by other people, because there's not a lot of brand new in combat robots now. There is iterations on ideas in combat robots now. So, and I think that's fine. I don't think there's any shame or bad in seeing a design you're interested in and going, you know what, I want my own version of that. I mean, copying someone part for part and, 3D print for 3D print, I feel a little bit bad about that, but I haven't ever done that. But yeah, seeing somebody else's design you like and then doing a design in the same vein, I think is fine. Yes, it is an expensive bearing, but if it takes the like 1 mil slop out of the stack up here, then it's going to be very worth it. Your multi-bearing concept that has a spinner on a spinner rotating platform is kind of done with the new Ferocity. Yeah, I can see that. I mean, we're going to be going faster than Ferocity is going, as far as I know. And I think theirs is more about keeping the weapon actively pointing at somebody rather than using the robot to add impact to the weapon system. So, yeah, then that's a good point. Ferocity may have problems with that turret mechanism. The turret is going to be interesting. If they can get that... yeah, if they can get that strong enough, then they're putting a lot of weight into that, which means there's less weight elsewhere. So it's going to be an interesting trade-off for them. I mean, it's an engineering problem, right? Like yeah, and there's some good people working on that robot, so I'm sure they'll come up with something quite cool. Bye, Hexbugs Heroes. When I messaged Robert, he said that he was taking a break from robot videos right now, but would like to come back to making a robot out of cheap $50 toys. Oh, interesting. Okay. Yeah, if he wants to take up that challenge, more power to him. Robert does some crazy stuff in his builds, and he seems to focus a lot on perfection in his builds. Even Long Man, who was like Robert's closest attempt at a joke robot, like the high sheen polish that he gets on Long Man is just that's Robert to a T, right? And that's why people like watching his videos. Everything he does and he put his mind to, he does really well. So it would be very interesting to see him attempt that high level of polish out of, a $50 toy car or something. Yes. The lineage is definitely Rumham, Crippling Depression, and then Annie. And then, yeah, if you guys are inspired by Annie and make your own, then add yourself to the end of the lineage. The interesting thing about the lineage, actually, is that Annie fought Rumham. Annie fought Rumham in 2016? 17? Something like that. It was the second iteration of Annie fought Rumham, and Annie got annihilated. Yeah, she was still bad back then. I'm not saying that she's good now, but she's a lot better than she was back when we fought Rumham. So yes, sometimes lineage can be interesting. All right, so how much room have we got around this bearing? Because I need to kill some of this. We have 1.5 mil around that bearing. All right, well, we're going to push this guy in probably by 1.2. So we've got space to jam the bearing in there. Cool, and then we can push the outside back in a little bit by 1. That should be all right. I'll probably need to put some clips in here to hold, or just some little pieces of plastic that hold that bearing in place, I reckon, because otherwise it's going to drop straight out the bottom. Because the bottom at the moment has a big hole there, as far as I remember. Let's see. Oh, okay. It seems like there is a little bit of cover around that, which will help a little bit. I'm not sure I want the bearing to be that far down though, because if the bearing is that far down, it's starting to get like encroach on the belt area here, I reckon. So yeah, we don't really want the bearing to hit the belts, because if I swap back over to desk cam, which is not anybody's favorite time of the day. Yeah, this is not really worth it. you might just be able to see up in here. No, I'm not sure you will be able to on this camera. But there's the cutout that I've made in this this thing here, and the belt does basically touch that. So I don't think we want the bearing any lower than what we've got the bearing at the moment, because otherwise we're going to have problems and it's going to hit the belt and everyone's going to be sad. Or I'm going to be sad because the weapon's not going to spin up. Will I fight Rumham in the future? Yes. If I ever get back over to the States for a beta weight fight, or if Rumham gets accepted into Battlebots, then, and I get accepted into Battlebots, yeah, I'd want to fight Rumham again. Rumham is a scary, scary beast of an undercutter. And yeah, like disintegrated Annie's last weapon setup in one hit. So I would love to fight Rumham again, if only for, yeah, finding out if I've actually made any improvements to Annie. You know, if I can survive one hit against Rumham, I think I'm doing pretty good. So, yeah. Can I set Annie up as a sawbot, an undercutter sawbot? I have been thinking about this, actually. I've got a sawbot that a saw blade that is the same diameter as Annie's current weapon systems. And I've been thinking about drilling holes in it so it mounts up to my weapon pulleys and putting it into my set, because there's a couple of robots at ARC that have big chunky foam wheels, which any kind of impact a weapon doesn't really do anything to those. They just kind of like wobble and flex and bend out of the way. But a saw blade would just cut massive chunks out of them. So it could be quite handy to have a saw blade in my arsenal for competing at ARC. So that's something I'll have a look at some point. Yeah. Yeah, Rumham would be an interesting one to have at Battlebots. I don't know if he's interested in going over to Battlebots. I really hope he is, because that would be awesome. Oh, also, my front plate has disappeared. I was about to look at doing some front plate stuff, but I think something in the interplay between the Stream software and this CAD software has made it so that the button that's normally over on this side of the window that allows me to pop back up things that I've disappeared has gone missing. So that's not actually helping me right now. But what I want to do is see... yeah, okay. That's going to be a problem. So this little bracket here that I've just dragged over into the right spot, this is actually one of 3 that hold the top plate on. The top plate is not held on by much at all. And it's actually, yeah, these 3 pieces here. So that's kind of annoying. I don't know what I'm going to do about that, because that's not going to fit in there, and that's about the smallest piece that I could put into that space. So, I think that's for a later date. I can redo the mounting positions for that, I think, because I do have a little bit of vertical space this way now, so I might actually be able to mount... Oh, don't... Where'd you go? Oh, you went back. But I might be able to change that location to be off the side wall or something. If we pull this guy back, where are you supposed to sit? 75, probably. Yeah, so we can probably put that little bracket like in here somewhere and mount the top plate off of that, maybe? That could probably work. I mean, you guys have seen my videos, right? I'm not huge on top plates. Top plates just kind of happen when they happen, and yeah, I don't put loads of time, effort, or thought into them, which is kind of funny considering that I'm the one that's taking a saw robot to ARC's next meet. So, you know, I should be the one that knows how dangerous they are and all of that kind of stuff. So. All right, well, I think we're pretty close here in terms of what I can do on stream. I'm getting there. There's a lot of bits and pieces that I haven't moved over yet. But these ones are the big ones. So getting this new shield printed, that bearing bought, the new top plate made up, and then this new piece here done. Those are my next big steps. Oh, I should probably actually make the little tabs in here for this guy. And then I think that's probably going to be it for this video. Yes, so maximum ogre drive, I had a plan. I had a plan for maximum ogre drive going in, and that was to run Annie Australian style, so upside down, with a disc weapon on top. Basically, the whole idea was, you want to cut me, you're cutting through the weapon. And that is the way I would deal with sawbots at Battlebots, I reckon, is just flip Annie upside down, drive upside down, and just, yeah, run her as an angled overhead weapon. Might work. Maybe. And we'll get that bearing out of there too. So pull these guys over here somewhere. And yeah, so by watching me do this, you can probably work out why the CAD kind of looks this way, right? Like it's, yeah, I pull things over and I do work on the bits that I need to, and then there's too much going on, so I kind of pull things out further and further. And I do all of these at like 5 and 10 mil increments, so I can collapse all of this back right into the center over that original weapon plate. But yeah, for now, I'm just doing the stuff that I need to do. So the stuff that we need to do right now is this, which is plates for that. So we need probably 2 mil tabs is probably going to be the best idea. Unless I do a ring. I could just do a ring. A 2 mil ring. So what would that actually look like? It would look like a radius of 18.5. Oops, 18.5. And then a radius. No, do that. Oh, actually, no, do that. 21.3. So 21.3. That's going to be our outside radius. Now, I only want these tabs to be like 2 mil tall. So we can then snap that into there. Extrude this through like that. And then we'll snap that over here. So that's now our bearing retainer, or it will be in a second. Because again, where this bearing retainer is currently sitting, it's actually in the path of the belt. So what I want to do is I want to cut this bearing retainer in half almost. Actually, I could probably get away with not half. I could probably get away with only 5 back. That'll do it. So if I cut this now, like this, body to split, splitting entity, bam, bam. Now, this part here, this little semicircle is going to be our bearing retainer. So our bearing is going to sit on there inside the actual 3D print. And all I need to do is, nope, not subtract. Don't do subtract. Come on. Do a merge. So that and bam. So this is going to be a very complicated 3D print because there's underhangs here and there's underhangs there, and all of these underhangs need to be exactly right. Otherwise, it doesn't do the jobs that it needs to do, but it should be okay, actually. Printer should be able to handle that. If not, I might have to chamfer this a little bit, and then the bearing might move just a little bit in terms of where it actually sits, but as long as it doesn't sit further down than any of this, then we'll be fine. Like, it should be totally okay. Yeah. All right, well, I think that is going to have to be it for tonight. It's getting a little bit late, and my voice is starting to go a little bit. I have been talking for kind of, what, an hour and a half straight, basically. yeah, I hope you guys have enjoyed this live stream. If you want me to do more live streams in the future, please let me know, because this has been fun. I quite enjoyed sitting here and looking at chat and chatting to you guys and just kind of ambling away doing some CAD work. I mean, it was a little slower than CAD work normally is for me, but it was fun. So yeah, I'll just I'll give chat a second to catch up, and then I'll probably, well, that was OPS on the screen. I didn't need that to have that over there. Yeah, like I said, it's been a good one. So thank you guys. I'll just throw this back to the hold screen for the moment.